They were scenes few thought were still possible in modern-day Europe. These pictures, filmed by ITN, of detention camps where Bosnian Serbs held Bosnian Muslims captive, in part began the reckoning, began the slow and then new process of international justice against their instigator and his campaign of impunity, of fear.
Tell us the truth.
I'm afraid.
Today, Radovan Karadzic, now the bearded alternative medicine man, was finally caught up with. The refugees remain still, and so do the memories, joined today, though, with a little incredulity.
I cannot believe, I still cannot believe. I watched it on TV and couldn't sleep till 5 o'clock. I cannot believe that after 13 years it happened.
Karadzic's forces killed her brother in Bratunac, but his arrest put focus elsewhere on his main alleged crime, the worst massacre since World War II, Srebrenica. It was the first safe area created for Bosnia's persecuted Muslims, but Karadzic's army paid little mind to these blue helmets and their promise of safety. After the March Directive, Bosnian Serb forces imposed a stranglehold on the enclave, and by July, people were starving. The 600 Dutch peacekeepers here, charged with protecting the enclave, came under fire. NATO tried to hit back with airstrikes on July the 11th, but stopped when they realised Bosnian Serbs had Dutch soldiers hostage. Karadzic's men felt they had a free hand. 5 frenetic days followed, in which 8,000 men were murdered. These young Muslims were brought here by Bosnian Serb soldiers, a unit called the Scorpions. They filmed these pictures of their handiwork. Some here are already bloodied, and this man, Asmir, is aged just 16. Insult, then they lie down, surely knowing what awaits. But perhaps this spot is too public for killing, or perhaps it's a cruel joke. The first shot they hear goes over their heads, and they're soon stood up again and walked further into the forest. We won't show the graphic executions that follow here, but they did on Serb television. Their terror caught in their inertia. The horror of the Karadzic past. The still living move the dead. Across Srebrenica, the charges against Karadzic allege thousands of Bosnian Muslim men were murdered between the 12th and 18th of July 1995 at least 11 locations in and around the Srebrenica enclave. This includes near the UN compound at Potocari on July the 12th and on July the 13th, when hundreds of men were killed after being held in a warehouse in the village of Kravica, and 3 days later 500 Bosnian Muslim men were killed inside a cultural centre in Pilica. The case against Karadzic is explicit. The Hague Tribunal charged in April 2000 that Karadzic planned, instigated, ordered and committed the destruction of the Bosnian Muslims and Croats in 18 towns, including Srebrenica. The indictment against an alleged accomplice reveals that on March the 8th, 1995, Karadzic gave Directive 7, aimed at driving Muslims from Srebrenica. It says, quote, "Through a planned operation, he wanted to create a situation of total insecurity with no hope of further survival or life for the inhabitants of Srebrenica." Here today in Potocari they tend the graves of Srebrenica's dead, the arrest perhaps bringing this horrific chapter of the region's history slightly closer to an end.
It was a real surprise for me. I was astounded because there was no indication that he would be arrested. But there it is. Justice is achievable after all.
Among the headstones, perhaps, hope that justice may soon also reach Karadzic's co-accused, Ratko Mladic. sought too for Srebrenica's dead.